All right, here we are, Noam, live from Thailand. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation with me.
Yeah.
So Noam, we finished working together like a month ago, I guess, something like that. So we worked together over summer. And yeah, I'm excited to dive into this conversation with you, harvest some of the things that we were able to work on and that you were able to implement. And I always love uh, starting us off with you just sharing briefly who you are, what do you do professionally? Yeah, so people can get a bit of a sense of like, who is this Noam guy?
Yeah. Um, it's always a bit hard to explain what I do professionally, but uh, yeah, I have two lines of professional work, which are related. One is like one-on-one work with people, which is some sort of yeah therapy that is like very much based in experiential and somatic modalities. The other line of professional work is sex positive workshops, also like somatic. And because those two are related, then a lot of the people who come to one-on-one with me come to work around themes which has to do with sexuality, but not necessarily.
Cool. Nice. And you reached out to me, I think something like in June or something like that.
End
Um,
of June.
End of June, yeah. So this is gonna be a funny one because you were like, "Hey, so I know you do these kind of transformational offers. Do you also have people outside of that?" So that's gonna be a fun one to unpack. But yeah, could you share like when you reached out to me, what was going on in your business? Yeah, what was happening there?
Yeah, so I was actually like I was away from Berlin, which is where I worked for like half a year or something like that. So my business was not completely dead, but it was like on a very low fire. And then I came back and I wanted to bring it back to life, but also to take it a step further,
Mm-hmm.
like, to gain more stability, basically. And
Mm-hmm. And was there any specific um, moment that made you reach out or like a routine challenge that kept coming up where you were like, okay, I think it's good for me to get support there?
I was very occupied with achieving financial stability in the
Mm-hmm.
last what 2 years maybe. And I was working on it and on various ways and so on, and I made some progress before. But I sort of felt like I wanted to focus all my attention on that, or most of my attention, and not to keep it as a side project. And then I thought that like creating a container for myself which supports that and helps that would be very beneficial, which is what. Basically to involve another person who's
Mm-hmm.
uh, knowledgeable. But I think it's also for me, there was also something just about this gesture of like, okay, I invest in that, I bring other people into that. That is very powerful. I mean, I know it from other things in life, which I did it before. Like, okay, let's also do it with finance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something that also felt like pointing out because um, it's a bit of a paradox on some level to be like, oh, I want more financial stability. Let me invest a couple of €1,000 uh, to get support because it takes a kind of I guess conviction and confidence that you will be able to like have a like a multiple return of what you're investing. So could you speak to like what helped you make that investment besides what you shared of having those previous experience in other places? given that you wanted financial stability, right? Because the mind might be like, are you crazy? Like, we don't have financial stability right now and you want to invest this? Like, what made you take that step?
Yeah, I mean it's a leap.
Yes.
I think it's like on a more rational level, it's maybe thoughts like, okay, I invest in other things anyway. I don't know. I go to therapy. I don't know. I was in France, for example, for some time before, so that costed money anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, so let's invest some money in making more money.
Mm-hmm.
Like on that sense, it actually makes a lot of sense. Like, okay, I'm gonna invest like resources in order to yeah, to make my capacity to make resources bigger. I mean, you don't know it will happen before, so there is a risk in that. Yes, like I didn't know for sure it will work. Um, but it seemed to me like yeah, I don't know, like a logical step. Wait for a moment. Oh, sorry, that was
Okay.
someone. Um, yeah, so there's that. And I mean, I think also the fact that I knew you from before like helped me a lot. I don't know if I would have done it with someone I had absolutely like no acquaintance with.
Why?
I mean, the field of like business coaching and advertisement is a bit dubious. Like I feel there are a lot of like, I mean, con man is maybe a bit strong, but a lot of people who I don't like feel who I question their integrity, and I also know like stories of other people in my circles who invested a lot of money in something. Okay, it's just like because it's like, I mean, people that were in the position that I was are in a very vulnerable position in some sense, and then I
Mhm.
think it's easy for people to take advantage of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, not everyone, of course, but
Yeah, interesting. I mean, we could spend a whole hour probably just talking about this, because there are so many layers to this. Like one is, um, I totally agree with you. There are a lot of people in this field who I would say have like mixed intentions with their work. And I think it's also important to point out that in order to be scammed by someone or to just make an investment that does not meet my hopes and expectations, I play a part in it as well. So I think
sure.
there's also a cultivation in there of um, intuition, trust, discernment, where I can at least massively reduce the likelihood of investing a lot of money and then being and like realizing later on like, oh, that was a bad decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people who are looking for something like this are people who are not doing well financially to some extent, and then or at least I was not doing well financially to some extent, and like I mean, I was not like poor in the sense of I don't have where to live, but yeah, and I obviously I had something to do with it as well. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like uh, I think what I'm saying is that I I came or people come with a certain kind of problem related to income, and then it's like they are not necessarily in a position where they can discern all of that,
Uh-huh.
because when they think about finance or when this is involved, they are triggered, they are activated, they're not
Yeah.
thinking clearly, etc.
Yes.
Yeah, but I
So
get your point also.
yeah, so this, ladies and gentlemen, for those listening is the therapist's perspective of what's going on in those moments.
Yes,
And
indeed.
I would add that, or the way I would reframe it is, people come to me, a lot of people come to me who are not where they would like to be financially. They don't necessarily need to be struggling, but then there's like a sense of like, my vision is something else than where I'm at. And I agree with you that um, depending on the level of financial hardship, it takes even more of like a clear inner drive and an inner fire to take steps from a place of moving towards a vision rather than just like trying to get away from something uncomfortable, which is, from my perspective, always the preferred way of operating because there's more positive energy in it.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking about that, what was the vision that you had for working together? Like, what were you looking to accomplish? I mean, I heard like more financial stability. Was there anything else that you were looking to bring into your professional life?
I mean, I think it's changed a bit as we worked, but the initial point was that I was tired of like thinking every month or almost every month, like having this need to generate a lot like income and not knowing, like always figuring it out in the end, but not knowing. So like I was like looking for like, yeah, that's what I was looking for in the
To
beginning.
Yeah, to no longer need to at the end of the month being like, okay, how can I make my next month kind of meet my goal or like make cover all
Yeah,
my expenses, this kind of stuff.
yeah,
Cool. Yeah, so just for context also for those listening, um our first contact in this was you sending me a message being like, hey, I see you're working with transformational offers. Is that the only way that you're helping people with? Because I'm not really looking to create a transformational offer. I just look to have more clients. Can you support people there? And I was like, yeah, sure. Um, Not everyone I work with creates a transformational offer. How did things change from that initial conversation?
yeah. I don't know. I think it's like maybe a bit what you said a moment ago, something about the difference between like coming from a place of need or like getting away from like the uncomfortable thing, which in this case was like this financial instability, into something that has more to do with yeah, what would I like to have,
Mm,
which was also present in the beginning, but like yeah. I mean, it's interesting, because in the end I did make a transformational offer, but then in the end I got away from it actually. Like I wouldn't
mm,
say that what like I mean, this was, I feel like it was a very good step in like learning a lot of things, but it's not that I moved the focal point of my business into that transformational offer. It was more
yeah.
like a process that went through there.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So maybe let's go into this a little bit. So um, we started working together, and like some of the things we were working on was just clarifying your offers and who it was for. And then in this process, um, I basically said, look, all the things we're doing here can be totally applied to just one-on-one sessions. And I was always like, there are reasons why I prefer transformational offers. And I felt like in the process, it kind of grew on you. And I like how you framed it, that if we are coming from a place of like, okay, here's a problem that I need a solution for, our range of possibilities usually isn't that big. And so in your case, like the clearest, you just get more one-on-one clients. I guess also based on the past of like, yeah, I've had more clients before, and sort of like I know how this works. And we then actually ended up creating a transformational offer. Is there anything you want to share around this process, like how that shift happened, or like what made you feel excited about creating a transformational offer?
I mean, I think one thing that was exciting about it is to sort of create my own modality and not work within like a modality that was invented by. I mean, it's not true that the normal way that I work is a modality that I learned. It's also like, in a sense, something that I devised. But yes, it was within like
Hmm.
costumes, let's say, of the field of like, yeah, meeting weekly and like for this and this amount of time, and the content comes like mainly from the person who's coming and less from me, and so on and so on. There was
Mm-hmm.
something interesting about the transformational offer, which for me was a bit like creating a one-on-one workshop.
Mm-hmm.
That's also what I do in workshops. Like, I'm not teaching people certain, I don't know, erotic technique or something like that. That's not how I work. I create like space for people, I don't know, discover things. Each person discover a different thing, but I do bring like more structure than how I normally work with one-on-one people. And then there was something about the transformational offer, which was like, oh, okay, I can also bring more like structure to this
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one process. And then maybe, yeah, then maybe attract people who are more, yeah, what's more interesting for me to work with, or whom I can help more than others.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and yeah,
Nice. How was it for you? What did it feel like to clarify your positioning? Because like one thing we worked on was the one-on-one offer, but there were also your workshops. You had some uh like positive experiences of going to a different city and offering workshops there. And how did it feel like to bring more clarity and specificity into your offers and like into your positioning?
yeah. I mean, I feel like one thing that I really learned, like in everything that I do, is to think about the language that other people are using to describe their experience, and not the language that I use in order to, yeah, think about my experience or the work that I'm offering and so on. And this is like, yeah, everywhere, like in
Mm,
workshops and one-on-one, and yeah, people who are like, I don't know, interested in my work. Like, so that's like something that really shifted, and I had a very positive effect. And it's not something that's changed about how I work. It's just something
yes.
that's changed about how I mediate it to the world. So I feel like this was very valuable for me
Mhm.
to learn and to put such a stress on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I think I have the sense that quite often people start doubting the work that they do because there's not that many people signing up, when really it's a lot about just finding a framing that makes sense to people. And I guess the discernment here is, do like the people that do come to you, are they happy with what they're getting? And so if the answer is yes, but you would like more people to actually take a step towards you, then probably there's a lot to get in just becoming more precise in how you talk about your offers. And as you said, like there's a form of empathy necessary there to speak the language of the people that you want to attract, rather than just like, oh, like here's my creative flow of how I love talking about things, which can be fun, but it's a very different frame. And there's a risk there of just not reaching people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other? Oh, go ahead.
No, it's just that it's a delicate place, I feel, because it's, I mean, we spoke about it also when we worked together, that I'm speaking from where I am in right now after experiencing a lot of things, after facilitating like work. And then, yeah, there is this gap between where I am and where people who come to work with me are, which is good. I don't want the people like I wouldn't go maybe to a workshop by me because I would have more to get from someone who's in a place that is not where I am. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, this awareness was very, very valuable for me. Like it was not something I never thought about before, but I never like treated it so methodically. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's something that you do very well. I mean, for me that was like yeah, it's like very structured and like yeah, that was very helpful.
Nice. It's funny when you say that I work very structured because I think compared to a lot of people in my field, I really don't work in a structured way at all. And I think that was one of the things that worked really well in our container is that you, and generally, I would say people who come more from an embodiment background, who really appreciate an emergent quality in our working together. So it's like, yes, there is structure and there are clear steps that I'm bringing in, but I'm not rigidly following them. I'm present with you in this
No,
present moment. And from there, we find like a creative flow between something completely unexpected emerging and the structure that I'm bringing in. And yeah, I'm curious to hear you speak about this. And I just want to say, I feel like the people who feel comfortable with this kind of emergence are the ones who get the most from my work. And like the biggest frustration that I've seen clients where there was just not a perfect fit was this like, why are you not giving me the 6 month plan for me to follow? And I'm like,
no,
because in 2 weeks it's gonna look different. So like, what?
yes,
Yeah,
yes. No, no, totally. Yeah, in this sense, yeah, I didn't mean your structure, but yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, I think it's just like, I mean, I don't know how other people in the field are because you are the only person in the field I work with, but uh, yeah, like it was very similar to, yeah, somatic or therapeutic work that I did in this sense, which for me was like it was a language I speak very well, I feel
yeah,
also. So it was very easy for me to use that like yeah. But at the same time, you know, there was like this online course which was like part of it, and then there was like that's what I meant by methodical. There was okay, now you do this and this and this. This comes from this, also explaining like the rationale behind it and the principle. So in this sense, which was yeah, great, but it was very yeah, adaptable. Let's say.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here I also want to acknowledge you. I remember one moment where we were in a session and we were in some kind of emergence, and I think you said something like, um, "I'm not 100% clear what we're doing right now. Can you give me like a bit more of an overview of like where we're at?" So just you asking for what you need obviously also makes my work a lot easier. Because just like you were saying, like, oh, I'm operating from the place where I'm at and I might not fully see where others are at. Well, the same can happen for me when I work with people. Like I have all these frameworks and these overviews in the sense of where we're at. um, and yeah, I guess there was a moment where I didn't express that clearly enough, and then you asked for it and I gave you that orientation, and then I felt like it was much easier to dive in. So that's one thing that I appreciated in how you were showing up.
Yeah. I was very committed. That was also nice.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
while since I've been so committed to something. That was
Yeah.
very nice. Yeah.
Nice. Any other aha moments that came up in the, I guess, 3.5 months that we were working together? So you were sharing this one about noticing the gap between you and your ideal client and learning to speak more their language? Was there something else that felt like, oh yeah, that's something that I can really take with me in the future?
I mean, it's related, but it's a bit different. It was this whole market research section, which was very like insightful for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, like talking, like having some idea about what I want to do, and then like checking it out with people I already worked with or who know my work to some extent, and getting some feedback basically.
Yeah.
That was like very helpful, and I will continue to do it with other when I develop like other things. Um, let's see if there's anything else that comes to my mind now. I mean, I don't know if it's an aha moment, but I feel I became more aware also when I promote things to know how to say it, like because I think before what I would have done, I would have like an offer, and then I would write something and I would post it, and then after a week I would post it again, and so on and so on. And I think I became more like sophisticated in the sense of like, no, first I send like personal invites, and then maybe like a reminder, and then I publish it in social media so the people who got the personal invitation can like see it again, and like how to keep it like in the mind of people, which I feel is
Mm-hmm.
very effective, was very effective, is very
Mm.
effective. That's like also something like a certain kind of awareness that I have that
Yeah.
I didn't have. But I think for me that like the most like valuable thing was actually what I said in the very beginning of this conversation, which is just like to set a space where I am with another person working on something and then like manifesting what I want. I feel like, yes, I learned certain things and this is all valuable, but I actually feel that what was most valuable was that
Yeah.
for me. Uh, yeah. Like that's a lot. I know. I think for some people it might sound like, okay, so I can just do it with a friend, or I can dedicate like an hour, but it doesn't work like that. I mean, that's also how therapy works. I think this is what you do in
Yeah.
therapy. Like it's the same thing,
Yeah.
or in any held container, basically. That's like the. I feel like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so much an expression of, you could say, self-worth, of like, I'm taking myself seriously enough to dedicate a specific container and to invest time and resources and focus onto something to change something. Like there's a level of taking yourself seriously that as you said, that's the biggest thing.
yeah. Someone helping you do that, like not being
Yes.
alone in something. I feel is also like very important
Mm-hmm.
part of it.
Yeah. And then obviously someone, I guess, I don't know if that was your experience or if you would put it this way, but one feedback that I get quite often is someone helping you, and someone helping you who's attuned enough to you and where you're at and what you need. I guess this comes more into play when I work with people who have had previous business coaching experiences, and it just felt like uh, just like the coach just doing the one thing that they learned to do and like guiding everyone through the exact same thing, and like something just really not feeling seen on the client side in this process, and then just not being able to follow through. I would just add that as a piece of like, yes, have support, and have support from someone where you actually feel seen with where you're at, but also with what you're capable of.
Yeah, educate, adequate support. Yeah, support
Yeah,
that fits. Yeah, definitely.
exactly. On a more practical side, what are some of the wins that you would like to share over our time of working together?
Well, I mean, I got a lot more one-on-one like clients. I also created this transformational offer, which actually not so many people like did, but the people who did also continued to work like one-on-one with me. And I feel like this is also something that got clarified for me, like that I want to work with people a very long time.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, more people are coming to my workshops also, like substantially more people. Yeah, basically, I'm yeah in a stable place
Mm.
financially, or
How does that feel?
it feels great. uh, yeah, I mean, there's more space for other things. I feel more relaxed. Um, I feel I'm still figuring it out, to be honest, because
Yeah,
I've been in this other place quite some time, and that's quite new. Uh,
yes. Yeah, beautiful. So I think this is a piece worth um, stressing is when you solve a problem that's been present for you for a long time, it can be kind of weird and uncomfortable at time because like you're so not used to it, and you realize it's really not the end of the journey. So I feel like sometimes the mind can be like, oh, if I solve this one thing, then everything falls into place and everything aligns. And because life is a never ending journey of learning, it's just like it opens up space for new questions and new challenges to come up. Not as this like, oh my God, now I have, it's more like, yeah, well, now your capacity can move somewhere else to bring to light certain things that you feel like you can change. And I think that's good just to be aware of, that if the mind projects like a lot of like final satisfaction into a goal, it can be a bit disorienting at first to be like, oh, well, yeah, it feels nice. And now there's other questions. And like my focus is going to places that I just didn't have the capacity before to even go to.
yes, very much so. I think also there's emptiness in the beginning because there was
Yeah.
a lot of drive, a lot of energy that was going to a certain place, and then
Yes.
I mean for me, but I mean not just for me. The beginning is like, oh, okay, what am I passionate about now? Actually, like, what do I want
Yes.
to do? Um, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
nice question to have, but it can also be scary.
Yeah. And I think it takes skill to be with that emptiness before filling it too quickly with stuff and be like, cool, I've emptied out something. Like it's almost like I've cleared out a thing that's been a noise inside of me for a long time. And like before I go to the next thing, let me be with the emptiness. Because if I can't be with the emptiness, I will just continually try to fill it with noise.
Exactly.
Sweet. Anything else that you feel like or that stands out to you when you reflect back to where you were when we started out and where you're at right now?
I think, I mean, another nice thing for me about the work was that before, like all this field of like how do I get people to come to me was like, I don't know if you say it in English, like a bit like a black box in the sense of
Mhm.
like, okay, I don't really have an effect on it. Like, okay, I can do some stuff and then yeah, it works or it doesn't work. And sometimes yes, and sometimes no. So it feels
Mhm.
like I feel that I have more of a sense of like, yeah, it's logic, how it works. I can understand more. Okay, if something doesn't work, then okay, what can I do in order to figure out didn't what went wrong? Like, what can I do
Mhm.
better?
Mhm.
And that's very nice. Like, so yeah,
Yeah, I'm
it's a nice.
hearing I'm hearing like having more agency in that place of how people come to you. It's not just like this big question mark, but you have like clear things that you can actually focus on, and it just brings you into more an empowered place rather than just being like the recipient of a workshop that is completely filled and then the next workshop that is completely empty and you don't really know what the difference was.
Yes. But also knowledge, like, like it's like, yeah, it's a field that people research like other fields. And I mean,
Yeah.
okay, it's not an exact science, but there are like certain dynamics or like certain things that you can rely on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not science, something, but that's like, and if I need or want, I feel like I can learn more now. Like I'm not so like suspicious or
Mm-hmm.
right them diets of like that kind of knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So as you said, you were very dedicated and motivated and focused in those months to accomplish what you accomplished. Is there anything you want to share around what's coming next for you? Like what's your next focus? What are you looking for next business wise?
Yeah, so I think the next thing I want to do is like create a group like processes that last, which is actually something I wanted to do since I started facilitating. So like
Mm-hmm.
how do I get people, etc., etc. And that's something I actually started to, yeah, to work on like recently, Thailand.
Nice.
Uh, and yeah, so I would say that's the next thing.
Sweet. Yeah, I look forward to this coming to fruition as well. Is there anything you'd like to share about our experience in working together that we haven't touched on yet? Anything that feels relevant for you to name as we're coming to the end of our conversation?
I mean, another thing that come to my mind was like when we were creating this transformational offer, we were speaking about the niche and with people it's addressed to and so on. And that was like difficult for me, like to say, okay, now I'm going to work only with like this small group of people. But I was like, no, I can, with maybe an ego thing also. I can also work with other people, not just with this kind of people.
Mm.
Um, but I feel now, yes, now it's like I don't know if it's exactly the niche that we defined, but my work in this sense became a lot more niche, and it's actually very nice. Like it's yeah, I feel very good with that. So that was like another thing that happened.
Mm. Nice. I appreciate you naming that because I know that this can be a challenging moment for many of my clients. This like, I don't want to restrict myself to this thing. I'm so much more. And and I think also it's helpful to see that you're not restricting yourself, you're restricting a specific area of your work to be more precise. And one thing that I've been mm, sharing more consciously is this difference between like your offers. It's good when your offers are very clearly directed towards certain people, but you as a personal brand, you can have very different offers. And I know we've talked about some of your future steps and like ideas, creative ideas that you have that go in a very different direction. And that's not at all a contradiction. Like you can be super multifaceted, but when you create an offer, it's very helpful to be fairly specific in who this is for and what are the prerequisites that people have, because they are just so much more like we want to feel spoken to. So if we're able to speak to someone and to someone's experience specifically, they're just so much more likely to take action on that.
Yes. Yeah. totally. But I also think, like, retrospectively, that I mean, there's also maybe it's not such a bad thing, maybe for some time. Yes, my work is being like
Yeah,
focused on that as a
yeah,
step in the process.
yes,
And then maybe I expand again more. But I
yes,
mean, it makes sense to me that there are moments that it's more like narrow, and I think there's a lot to learn there actually.
yes.
Uh,
Well, it's actually it's just a lot easier to for people to be oriented around, okay, who is this Noam guy and what is he doing? If we have a more specific focus and niche, the reason why I said what I just said is just this understanding that we will always evolve and change. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we don't have to remain stuck in, like, oh, like I've had so many labels already, like, oh, I'm the men's work guy. Oh, I'm the business coaching guy. Oh, I'm the like consciousness guy. And that's completely fine. There's nothing bad about that. And I agree with you. It can be super helpful for a specific time to be like, this is my focus. And if this speaks to you, then you're in the right place. And if you're looking for something else, then totally fine. But that's just what I'm focusing on.
yeah, I really liked also what you said now, like before, that my offer can be very specific, but I as a person can be very wide. I think it's a very
Yes.
nice distinction that
Yeah.
brings space and
Yes.
air.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm curious if there's any last thing you want to share. And I have like a mini question, if you're curious to speak to that, is what would you say to people who have a sense that getting business support could be helpful, but they have similar suspicions that you have towards the business space?
I mean, retrospectively, in your case, maybe I would have like suggested someone to buy like the online course that you have, because I think it's a very good way to get a sense of you and what you do,
Mm,
like without spending a few thousand euros, which is a big like commitment.
yes.
Um, but wait, I have another thing which is not yet formed in words. I don't know. I feel it's just it needs to be in the right moment. Like I had this thought also before I approached you, but then it's like it sort of culminated or like gotten ripe, and then it was very clear. Like for me also, I don't remember how much money it was, but a few thousand euros. But I was like talking with you, it felt good, and then I was like, okay, I mean, I will organize the money, and then I asked you to give me like 2 weeks or something, and
Mhm.
I organized it. I feel like in the end, like it's a lot of money, but it's not like you're not buying an apartment. I feel like it's an amount of money you can raise if you really feel that's what you want to do now. And it's, I mean, in the case it works, it's also paid back, like not so, like doesn't take a year. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, in my case, it can be different, but like
yeah.
yeah, I would say.
Oh, beautiful. Any last words before we hop off?
No, thank you. It was nice.
Yeah, same here. I appreciate you, Noam. Appreciate the work that you do. And yeah, I look forward to your future creations.